deep in the heart of Central Texas. It's the Best of the Outdoors podcast, brought to you by Texas Fish and Game Magazine, the voice of the Texas outdoor nation. I'm your humble host, Dustin Von Warnke. So excited that you've taken the opportunity to download our show, stream it online, stream it on YouTube, Facebook, no matter where you're listening. Thank you so much for doing so. It makes our day, makes our socks go up and down when you guys, subscribe and tell a friend and listen to the show every couple of weeks when we do these. So anyway, just so excited to have you guys on board. Excited for another podcast. And every time I sit down at the microphone or do this, I'm just fired up, man. I love the outdoors. I love sharing it with people. I love educating, motivating, inspiring, adding purpose and significance to what we do in the outdoors. And that's just really where my heart is. And I know a lot of you guys that I hear from in social media think the same way. And it's just great to have like-minded people to listen that really believe in what I'm trying to preach, I guess, here in the Texas Outdoor Nation lifestyle is conservation and the next generation and just all the great things that have to do with the outdoors and preserving it for the future. So that's a great thing. So today's show, we're going to be talking about bow fishing. Not a subject I've talked about much in the last year or so, just because we've had a lot of other fishing and hunting things going on. But I wanted to take a little detour since we're in the summer months. This is releasing July 5th, right after 4th of July. I don't know how many people are going to be listening, but it's a great time, guys, to get outdoors and do a number of things. Great time to go axis hunting for an axis deer. Great time to go bass fishing for summer bass. I've had Matt Williams on the podcast talking about that before. Awesome opportunity to go out bow fishing because you can do it at night. You're not as hot, the wind's blowing, you're in good shape. Go with a bow fishing guide in your area, like the one I've got here in Central Texas, Marty McIntyre, and that is who I'm interviewing this show. He stopped by my little home office podcast studio this week, the week before this airs, and we sat down for about 25 minutes or so and just shot the breeze about bow fishing. And I have an article that is out in the July issue, and you should be able to read this now if you get the magazine or get the digital issue of the magazine, the digital edition. I've got a magazine article that is about coastal bow fishing, and the title is Bow Fishing for Rays and Other Coastal Species, what to stick with an arrow and how to do it, or what's legal to stick with an arrow and how to do it. That's what I mean to say. So, it's a great article. I think I wrote it, so I'm a little biased, but I think you'll enjoy reading it because there's a lot of people that don't talk that much about saltwater bow fishing and just talk about, carp and gar and freshwater lakes and that kind of stuff. But man, there's gar in the surf. A lot of people don't realize that. We talked about that on the podcast I did with Chester Moore. There's stingrays, they're legal to shoot with a bow. There's wide variety of different fish, sheep's head, and the list just goes on. And I have that whole article up at fishgame.com. You can read it on the digital edition and subscribe that way if you haven't already, or you can get your print magazine in the mail. And if you have not received that and want to subscribe and get this issue of Texas Fish and Game, just call up Larry Dalton in our office, and our number's on our website at fishgame.com, and he'll get you set up with this month's subscription and a subscription in this month's issue if you just ask for him to send that to you. So just tell him Dustin told you to do it. So anyway, man, I just love doing the show. You guys are a trip. I'm getting more connections now that I'm asking for them in social media. I have an open Facebook page. I don't discriminate against anybody really, and I'm really just open to talk to you guys that listen to the show. I mean, it makes my day that you guys care enough to watch, read, and listen to what I'm up to. And you can see you can actually check out this bow fishing article on my Facebook page. I've got it segmented out of the magazine, so you can read just the bow fishing article on coastal bow fishing and the equipment and the gear and that kind of stuff to use. But I've got that PDF downloaded at dustinsprojects.com. You can just go there and download the PDF. And there's some other stuff going on at dustinsprojects.com. My course is almost officially launched. I don't think by the time you hear this podcast, it should be launched. But it's an online course on how to be successful in the outdoor industry. And I've got that and my 2 ebooks releasing all at the same time as part of that package. But you can also order the ebooks separately at dustinsprojects.com. I've got Achieving Success in the Outdoor Industry ebook, and then the Top Media Gear Picks gear guide. I'm not sure exactly. I changed the title on that recently. So it's basically all the gear that I use for podcasting, video, writing, all that stuff that I do in the outdoors. So I got a fantastic deal on those right now at dustinsprojects.com. You can click through the link to purchase those directly, or purchase those through my course website, Thinkific. So anyway, got great things going on there. So another event that's going on this year is this time of year, I should say, in the summer months, is the Backcountry Anglers and Hunters, or Backcountry Hunters and Anglers, I should say, is a conservation group. They're basically seeking to ensure North America's outdoor heritage of hunting and fishing in a natural setting is preserved through education and work on behalf of wild public lands and waters. Love these guys. Got to interview Katie DeLorenzo, who's now with this group, this conservation group, and also talked to Abe Bullman, I believe is his name, is the gentleman that I connected with. He has an outdoor podcast, I believe, on public land. I need to still go check that out. But basically, he has given me 4 tickets to 2 different events, 4 tickets each to 2 different events that we're going to be giving away on this show. It'll be our first giveaway we've done on this podcast in 3 years, so that's kind of exciting. First ever giveaway. And basically what this is the Full Draw Film Tour 2018. And there's a Facebook page and all this. You can go check it out. I'll link it all in the show notes so you can find all this stuff really, really easily. But there's 2 different events. One on July the 21st in Fort Worth, and one on August the 11th in Austin. And I'll put links to both of these events. But basically, they're both for the Full Draw Film Tour showing or premiere or whatever you want to call it. And I'll tell you about the Fort Worth one because that's coming up first. And that's going to be July the 21st in Fort Worth area, Roanoke, Texas. Cinnamon Creek Ranch is where it's going to be at 10 a.m. Saturday, July 21st, in Cinnamon Creek Ranch at Roanoke, Texas. And they've got Instagram tag for all that stuff. Tickets are normally $10. I'm going to be giving away 4 tickets for this event, and then 4 tickets for the Austin event that's going to be, let me pull that up here, that's going to be at Archery Country, which is a place I frequented a lot with my gold tip arrows and my Grim Reaper broadheads. But it's basically going to be a showing there. They've got a really nice facility, Archery Country does. It's just north of the downtown Austin area. I've been there many times, and it's closer to me, so I may try to make it to that one. But basically, it's the same festival, film tour, and Full Draw Film Tour, and that's going to be Saturday, August the 11th at 6 p.m. and Saturday, August the 11th at 6 p.m. So plan for either one of those. This is going to be a fantastic thing. All the proceeds are going to be benefiting backcountry hunters and anglers, and they've just got a lot of really great things going on, and I'm really excited to be able to partner with them and do this giveaway. So here's what we're going to do. If you listen to us on Facebook, even if you don't listen to us on Facebook, you can share us on Facebook, because every week to 2 weeks we promote an episode that I make a video out of and upload directly to Facebook as a native ad, or as a native video. So basically, all you need to do is like that post that has the video embedded in it of the podcast, and then share that to your friends. And then while you're at it, if you want to go over and drop a line to me, Dustin Warnke, on Texas Fishing Game Facebook page, you can message me through there, or you can obviously go and find my personal profile. I don't have a page for the podcast because Facebook's changed their rules, and pages don't get near as many feed visits as a lot of other content, especially the native content that's there between users and not pages. So anyway, long story short, I'd love to hear from you. So anyway, it's the third thing you can do. But the main thing I need you guys to do is just to like the podcast and share the podcast, and that will enter you into the drawing for these tickets. That's the easiest way I came up with doing this on the fly, so because I just got these yesterday. And so anyway, just like the podcast post and share the podcast post, and you'll be entered. I'll see exactly who everybody that did that will be, and then I'll try to post something as well about the event. And 4 tickets to each event. So 4 tickets each, and price is normally $10 a person, $10 per adult, and all ages can attend. But it's a fantastic thing. I'm really excited about that. So not to be too much further into our show, we need to dive into our interview with Marty McIntyre. He is the head guide and owner of GARQUEST Bowfishing Adventures. Fantastic guy. I've had Tim Jackson, who works with him some up in the Dallas area, on before. Haven't had Marty on in the last year or so, and it's just great to sit down and talk to him again, especially with the quality of the sound is cool. It's not a typical phone call like you're used to hearing me take and record on the show, which is easy to do, but I like having people in person and on my professional microphones and stuff, so this really sounds good, and I think you're going to enjoy it. So here's my interview with Mr. Marty McIntyre. So joining me in the studio here, Mr. Marty McIntyre, head guide and owner of GARQUEST Bowfishing Adventures. How you doing, Marty?
I'm doing good.
Thanks for visiting with us in studio here. I haven't had an in-studio guest in like a year, so.
Wow.
And basically, I wanted to just have you here since you just looked at the July issue of Texas Fish and Game. We have a coastal bow fishing article in, but it's been a while since I've done a bow fishing show at all, and especially with you. And we talked about bow fishing with Tim Jackson, who's one of the guys that works with you, and sometimes, and but it's just one of those things. I wanted to have you back on because you're such a wealth of knowledge about the sport and encouraging the sport.
I'm old. What do you guys say?
That's not what I'm saying at all. So, where are you going? How's it been lately? You've been really busy lately, booked up for trips and stuff like that this time of year, right?
Yes, and it's been hit and miss. Some nights are just crazy, and other nights are just okay.
Right.
The other night we did real well. We got in some big gar.
What lake?
That was on Belton.
On Belton, okay, cool.
Yeah, we're fixing to go to LBJ tonight, so we'll see how that goes.
Oh, that's good. That's good. So, the basics of bow fishing is trolling around with a trolling motor and basically, hitting the banks and the edges and the coves and that kind of stuff, going after fish and shooting them with a bow. Is that basically saying it right? Okay.
You're hunting the fish.
Hunting the fish, okay.
And probably 3 to 4 foot of water.
Right.
Whatever we can get clarity in. Belton has been super clear this year. Stillhouse is probably 16-foot visibility at least.
Okay.
So, I mean, it's been real good.
Okay, cool. Good deal. And the thing that I find interesting is that, I was watching a carp video the other day. A guy catching carp and cooking carp, which he had a Bangladesh friend from Bangladesh that cooked carp, and I'm like, I'm still not there. But bottom line, he was saying carp are not an invasive species, and I'm sitting there going, yes they are, because they'll eat what? They'll eat eggs.
They'll eat anything they can get in their mouth.
Yeah, exactly. Bass eggs, catfish eggs, all kinds of other fish.
Yeah, they're not aggressive,
right?
Like a bass or a catfish is, or a gar is, but they will go through nest and find spawning beds, and they'll just clean them out.
Okay.
They suck up the dirt,
right,
and then they spit it back out, so that makes the water clarity go down.
Right.
And if the water is murky and muddy, has particles floating in it, that makes it difficult for the game fish to
see
and breathe.
Yeah.
Because they're breathing through their lungs. If their lungs get dirt and mud in it, then
that's not good. Yeah.
Right. They're not, like I said, they're not aggressive, but they still do a lot of damage.
Okay. No, that's good. I just wanted to clear that up because I kind of thought, yeah, man, you have a good point about certain things not being invasive, but they're still,
They were brought in.
Brought in. It's a food source. People don't believe that when I say that, but I forget what president brought them in around the turn of the last century.
Correct.
And said, basically this would be a good food source and nobody eats them here. So
not anymore. Now, long time ago it was, yes. But at that point, everybody was starving, too.
That's right. You're pretty hungry, you'll eat some carp.
Absolutely.
That's fine. You're fine. It's all good.
Absolutely.
Okay. So you've done some coastal fishing, bow fishing before. I know you're not. That's not your typical forte. Your typical forte is saltwater. But the point I made in the article that I wrote was that the idea is that you can fish for a lot of fish. You can fish with rod and reel with a bow. On coastal waters, certainly not game fish, but your gar, which a lot of people don't even know are in the surf. Your stingrays and those kind of things you can go after pretty easily for bow fishing, right?
Stingray, sheep's head,
yeah.
Gar. Some of the biggest gar you'll find are in saltwater.
Yeah.
Or at least brackish water.
Right. That's half fresh, half salt, or
correct,
somewhere with that consistency. And the main thing I always invited people in that article, if you've read it or not, guys, we're in July now when this podcast is airing, but basically what I caution on that article is basically to make sure you follow the game laws and size and bag limits and everything, because they're the same for bow fishing than they are for rod and reel.
Absolutely. And if you're shooting something with a size limit, you've got to make sure you're above that size.
Right.
So if you think it's close, pass on it.
Right. That's smart. That's smart
There's
advice.
plenty out there to go for.
Okay.
That you don't have to worry about. Oh, wait a minute, that's close, but
there's
accidentally shooting something too small.
It's a target-rich environment.
Absolutely.
What I've always liked about bow fishing, and I'm called by one of our digital editors years ago outside the box writers, because I like crossbows, and I like bow fishing, and I like air guns and just stuff that most people are like, huh?
Yeah, exactly.
I'm not your typical guy, but really you're not either, because you're into bow fishing hardcore, and there are not a lot of guys that are there's increasing numbers of guys that are getting that way, but it's still kind of the fringe, isn't it?
Correct. And that's clients I took out last week hadn't even heard of bow fishing until just recently. Exactly.
That sounds fun.
Absolutely. And they decided they want to try it, and they fell in love with it, and that's what I like to do, is get people started
and get them hooked. You got me started. I mean, that was 2011 when I started. Can you believe it's been that long?
Yeah, exactly. I can't even remember back that far.
But the thing that I've always liked about you is you're great with beginners. You're fantastic with teaching and educating, and you've got some YouTube videos of you in action, and I've edited a lot of YouTube videos of you setting up a bow fishing bow and things like that, which are all about the education, but you're all about furthering the sport to benefit the environment, really, because gar is a native fish, but it's not a sport fish. But carp and buffalo and so on and so forth are it's not a bad thing to shoot them.
Well, and you have to remember, almost everything we shoot have no natural predators.
Right, that's another good point. I was just going to bring that up. I'm glad you said
the gar. Think about it. A 4-foot gar, how much is it going to eat in a day? A buffalo, and I know this for a fact, buffalo eat game fish and other minnows. Sure. They don't care, and they don't go aggressively pick out one like a bass will. They go through a whole school of them and just suck them up. Mm-hmm. And the reason I know this, we've literally shot them, get them up on the deck, and they're spitting out minnows.
Whoa.
Now, what kind of minnows, I don't know, but because they are small, they're less than 2 inches long.
Right.
But they're spitting out 4 or 5 of them at a time. God, one of my favorite stories is we were on Granbury, and this guy shot this big old buffalo. He brought it in, and it flopped around on the deck, and we finally got it up, got our pictures, and put it in the tank. Mm-hmm. And he sits down and he goes, we're all back to fishing except him. And he goes, there's a crab back here. And we're going, we're in fresh water. There are no crabs. Every one of us. We turned around, and there was a little hermit-looking crab, madder than heck, crawling on my deck. Where it came from, I mean, it had to be the buffalo.
Right.
But what it was doing in Granbury Lake,
he wasn't happy though.
It absolutely blew my mind.
Right. No, that's fantastic. I had an interview. I was on a podcast, the Fish on Ted podcast, which is strictly for fishing and hunting guides. And Ted Johnson's his name. He's a guy in the Philippines that I work with. And he asked me what my favorite guide or outfitter story was. And you know which one I brought up?
No.
2012 when we did the bowfishing marathon.
Oh,
you remember
okay.
that?
Yeah, about wore your ass out.
Yeah, you wore me out. Yeah.
Yep.
So that was almost 24 hours. We ended up
Yep.
at 3 o'clock in the morning. We started the previous morning at like 5.
Right.
And we went and hit 4 lakes, southeast Texas.
We worked our way back
Worked our
here.
way back up to where to I guess it was Georgetown.
Georgetown.
Or wherever it was.
Yep.
Yeah.
That's where Yep.
And I still have memories about that trip. I shot a tilapia in 8 foot of water.
Yep.
That trip. We shot 12 gar in under 2 hours, I think it was.
Yeah, and we were already thinking, man, we should just go ahead
Go
and
home.
go.
Yeah.
We're all wore out.
And that's what the best was yet to come.
Exactly.
The best was yet to come. So I thought that was
Absolutely.
great.
Yes.
So that was one of my favorite experiences in the outdoors. Period. Was just that kind of stuff. So I just really can't thank you enough for taking me out on that trip.
Well, and that was a slow started trip too.
Yeah, it
the
was.
first body of water we went to was
That was
terrible.
Choke Canyon,
Yeah,
too.
and it didn't have anything showing.
And this is March during the spawn. I mean,
Should have been. Should have
the
been.
spawn.
Should have been
The
crazy.
gar weren't rolling, and then one of my other favorite stories, and you still give me heck about this, is you shooting the water snakes.
Oh yeah. That was
I had that on
choke
video.
again.
Yeah, it was choke. It was Three Rivers, I think. But that's same.
Well,
same
choke,
difference.
yeah, same
choke.
one.
So, but I was sitting there going, "Holy crap!" He shot 2 snakes, and they started biting each other on the arrow and stuff. And I was like, "Oh my gosh! Oh my gosh! Oh my gosh!" And I was freaking out on camera. And he's still got that video somewhere. I hope he never finds it though.
Yep, I sure do. The camera was shaking because the cameraman was running the other way.
I am not a fan of snakes, folks. I just wanted to make that clear. So, and Marty found that out firsthand. So, there you
Right.
go. Anyway, but yeah. So, give us your basic. If you're going with a guide, what to look for and what kind of concepts to keep in mind when you're out on a night of bow fishing, especially during the night because that's when it's cooler this time of year.
Right. And typically you meet the individual somewhere, and he should already have the boat in the water, everything ready. You walk down, introductions are done, and then what I do is I'll take you to the point we're going to start fishing, and that's when I go through the bows.
The instructions,
so we're
right.
not going through the instruction, putting the bow up to go from point A to point B, and then starting over
You
again.
get to your first point where we're starting.
Correct,
Yeah,
and
I remember you did that with me.
I let everybody shoot a few times, figure out the trigger, because all my customer bows are retrievers, Discovery 2s with the retrievers on them, because there's nothing to remember. You don't have to remember to push that button.
Push that button on the muzzy reel. Yeah.
Exactly.
Right.
The muzzy reel, if you shoot, if you get a big fish and the drag's not set right, then you have to pull the string out. And people don't know that stuff. But with a retriever, you reel it in, you shoot it, you reel it in and set it up. And the biggest thing they have to remember is the slide stop faces up and the slides out in front of the rest. That's and you can look over. You can, as a guide, you can glance over your shoulder and see, okay, that's fine.
Right.
But with I don't know if they got the button pushed. I can't.
Right.
I have to ask.
There are a lot more. That's more for the advanced archer
Absolutely.
that's shooting the muzzy, spin cast style reel
Absolutely.
versus the AMS bottle style reel. Yeah,
I think so.
I make that point in the article too, where serious bow fishermen that fish a lot of airboats and stuff like that. Louisiana is a big place where you can bow fish for redfish in Louisiana, for heaven's sakes, and catfish and that kind of stuff. You've done that. But basically, you've got to make sure you know what you're doing when you're using one of those muzzy style reels that have the retrieval system, because it is like a giant big spin cast reel. But the AMS is pretty easy. The problem with the AMS, though, the drawback is that it's not very strong when you're trying to pull in things, pull in fish and that kind of stuff. It's not as strong as the muzzy would be.
Yeah, it doesn't reel as.
That's what I mean.
It doesn't draw the string back
Right.
in if you have a big fish on the end.
Right.
That's easy fix. A guide can pull it in as you're reeling it, or once you learn how to use it, yes, you can trigger it, you can pull it, you get some slack in the strings, reel that slack out.
Okay.
And then something else, I would not suggest going after tilapia or alligator gar your first bow fishing adventure.
I remember that.
Because you have to know how to use the equipment before. And a lot of times a gar is a quick response shot. Tilapia are definitely. I just had some guys out about 2 weeks ago that hadn't bowfished before, and I think they seen half of what we were shooting at.
Right.
They just could not
find
ID them.
Right.
They could not ID them.
I still can't ID tilapia a lot of times because it's a you're like, hold on, and you just pull back and shoot, and I never saw the fish to begin with.
Yeah, that happens a lot. Yeah.
So, but I agree. Don't make make a simple win on the first trip, on the first few trips before you dive into the big trophy alligator gar.
Absolutely.
Or that kind of stuff, or the tilapia, because those are really niche sports within a niche of bow fishing because they're challenging in their own accord.
Right.
Tilapia can see you like a turkey can see you. They have like 4-power binoculars built into their eyes.
Absolutely.
And then they have and they can detect movement very well.
Well, and the same with deer hunting.
Right.
You don't go after your trophy deer
Your first
time out.
Yeah,
you might get lucky and get a trophy deer.
Right.
And the same with, bow fishing. You might get lucky and get a trophy fish.
Yeah.
But typically we're shooting between 15 and 20-pound fish is the average. And they're a lot of fun.
Right.
I mean, I can shoot all night if I'm shooting, some 20-pound buffalo. They're fun to put in the boat.
Yeah, absolutely.
So.
And you're not, the one thing I wanted to make clear on this show, and I don't know if I've made it clear enough on the last shows, is bow fishing, again, is not bad for the environment. It's helpful in a lot of cases because it helps preserve game fish, and what you're saying is saving your game fish one trash fish at a time, right?
Absolutely.
That's your logo. That's
Absolutely.
your slogan.
Absolutely. Well, and if you look at the body of waters where they've turned the grass carp loose, the bass are actually suffering because they're stressed out, and I think
no cover either.
Exactly, from no cover. That's why they're stressed out, because there is no cover. And I believe if you're going to put grass carp in a body of water and let us start bow fishing them a year out, we're not going to shoot them all up.
Right, like on Lake Conroe, for instance, right?
Perfect.
Because you can't bow fish for grass carp.
Still cannot bow fish them, and Lake Conroe has no vegetation, and it was real close to being a trophy bass lake.
Well, heck, the Bassmaster Classic was held there in 2017,
and they did some good, but they didn't do as well as I think they would have.
That's right. Without all the grass carp, no, I agree. And Lake Austin, you and I fished on a handful of occasions, and that lake is just sans grass at all.
And the lack of water vegetation is causing a lot of trees to fall in the water.
Yep.
Because that's of the waves and the traffic that's on there that are in the water, the soil's being washed away.
Well, you've shot some monster grass carp off of that lake, and then other lakes around down here where I'm at, right? Central Texas, or Austin area, basically.
Yeah, mainly Austin area, yes.
Yeah, so that's big. And then you've recently fished Ladybird Lake down in downtown Austin.
Yeah, that's a good lake if you can put up with the. The
funny thing about that lake is I'll never forget when I was an avid carp fisherman in the early 2000s, and Marty still makes fun of me for this, folks. But I would go out there underneath, I think it was the First Street Bridge. Is that where the bats are?
Yeah.
The carp would feed on the bat poop. No, it's Congress. Congress
yes.
Bridge, yeah.
Congress.
So the not South First, but the Congress Bridge. But the funny thing is the carp would feed on the bat poop, and you could just cast directly, dang near sight cast, since that lake's so shallow, and catch carp, off of them. I of course would not eat carp from that lake, although I did back then, but I wouldn't eat them from that area. Anyway,
yeah, that's I still run into a couple of the hardcore carp fishermen, and
they're pretty serious about that lake.
Yes, they are. And
there's tournaments held on that lake, and it's a very common thing with the National Carp Association, which I still can't believe, or North American Carp Association,
yes,
or whatever. But anyway, no, I before I started bow fishing these folks, I was catching them on a rod and reel, and that's why I wrote in the March issue the Kayaks for Carp article, because I had that experience with fishing with them. And really, for rod and reel, Marty, there's probably, everybody will argue with me, and I made the argument in the article that I wrote in March. Some people will say the striper is the hardest fighting fish in freshwater. I will say on a rod and reel, the carp beats it hands down.
I could see that.
They fight like a borrowed mule.
I bet the grass carp is.
I bet so too,
because they fight hard when you get them on bow and arrow.
Yep. So yeah, that's right. They do. They'll make runs and everything else trying to get away from you when you try to drag them in the boat. That's another good point. But you know, and that's just. I just kind of wonder how it was back in the day when the Native Americans were bow fishing back then. You know, like when you started out, you were just shooting arrows into the water.
Well, that was long time ago.
I know, many years ago. But I mean, long time ago. You know, what, 30? How many years have you been at it?
It had to be
dang near 40 years,
close to 50 years.
Yeah, I was about to say, 40 years plus.
Well, I was 7 or 8 years old walking the banks in Tennessee doing that.
Right, yeah. And, it's just one of those things that I just kind of think about how for fishing for food back in the day, you know, back in before man ever settled this area, you know, there were Native Americans bow fishing for gar and for buffalo and for other native species, you know, at the time.
Right.
So,
well, and the alligator gar, you know, if you go down south, they'll find some pictures every now and then, some really big alligator gar where they've taken them
like over 100 pounds.
Way over 100 pounds.
What's the biggest alligator gar you've shot?
Mine's at 174.
Holy smokes, that's
7
huge.
foot 7 inches.
Did you see? I don't know if you've been in my office lately, but have you seen the big gar? That was from our 2012 trip. That one right there.
That was
4 inches short of the state record back when I shot it.
Wow.
I did the math on that. And I've got the head over here. I've got the gar heads that I keep, what you've seen, but. You know, and that's a cool thing you can do. Every time we catch a gar at Crosswater Outfitters, I end up giving the head to somebody that wants to make a European mount and show pictures of what I did with my European mount.
And they make a cool European mount.
They really do. They really cool.
Yeah.
But it's kind of a cool little trophy to have as a remembrance of your time, especially the bigger ones or the better ones to do. But what I'm talking about, folks, is behind me I've got a gar skin, which is the plated armor that a gar has, that I basically hollowed out from a trophy-sized long-nosed gar, or close to trophy-sized long-nosed gar, and just hung on the wall, you know, facing down. And it basically, I used some borax. Marty helped me figure out how to get it cleaned up and everything like that. And we basically cleaned it up, dried it out, and I got it hanging on my wall as a souvenir, as a trophy. So
well, and I did the same thing with a alligator gar.
Okay.
I opened it up and made a shield.
Okay.
And I've got that hanging on my wall. Yes.
Well, the armor is super tough, so I guess that would make sense.
Supposedly the Greeks used them too.
A shield.
Yes.
Wow.
It's
you never told me this before.
Oh, it's a 6-footer that I opened up, and it makes a
big shield. Yeah, big shield. I bet so. Does it have a handle or anything on it?
No, I didn't do all that. I didn't do all that crazy. Fancy, it's just hanging on the wall behind my bows.
Behind your bows, just kind of a suit.
I'll have to take a picture and send it to you if you didn't know that.
I'd love to see that.
Cool.
Yeah, I haven't been to your house in a while, but. Anyway, so no, I wanted to have you and just talk about the basics of getting out there and getting it done. And summer months are a perfect time to go bow fishing because they're fantastic opportunities out there. And you know, we
hit it at night too, and that makes a big difference. Cool. I mean, it cools off.
It cools off, but it's not. It's still humid, and you know, it's still not going to be cold. But it's. I'll never forget some of the bow fishing trips I did with you in the winter.
Oh.
I mean, you bow fish year round.
Yeah.
And, I mean, there are times you were making fun of me dressed up like a bow hunter. I had my full camo, you know, suit and everything on, going out there and fishing with you and Holly and Tim. And you were like, "Where are you going? Bow hunting after this? Are you going for deer or what?"
Yeah. It gets cold out there on the water, though.
It does.
Quick.
But the nice thing about this time of year is it's so nice to it's so cool, and it's so, you know, it's nice at night.
Yes,
so,
it's
and
comfortable.
It's productive too.
Yes.
Yeah, it's comfortable and productive.
Absolutely.
So, and you're booking pretty heavy now. So tell people how to get a hold of you, and I don't want to keep you that much longer. I know you got a lot of stuff going on today.
The best way is to call or text me at 254-931-3474. You can go on my website, GARQuest.com, and find my number.
Yeah, or that's another website I built, folks. So.
I'm also, yes, he did, and he did an awesome job.
Thanks.
And also, you can go on GARQuest Bowfishing on Facebook, or Marty McIntyre on Facebook.
On Facebook, and then you're on Twitter as well.
Twitter and that other stuff, that Instagram,
that thing, whatever that thing is. Yeah, that's cool.
I'm on there occasionally.
No, that's cool.
I don't post as many times as I should.
No, that's cool. I mean, you're at least posting pictures. The thing I like about your Facebook page is you're constantly posting pictures about people catching fish and just about pictures from the night and the night before and so on and so forth. Video.
That's the
a lot
most
of times.
updated, and I haven't done one in a while. I need to do
a live?
Facebook Live.
Yeah, Facebook Lives that you're really, really well known for doing. So
I was doing a bunch of them last year. I haven't done
that's great to watch for somebody that's not on the water with you all the
Right.
time, because you really feel in the moment with that live stuff, because it pre-records and it shows it on Facebook as it's pre-recorded after it goes live. And so, you know, that's one of the things I kind of live vicariously through your guide eyes, you know, as you see it and do it every day, you know, something a lot of us dream of doing, you know, on the weekends and stuff. So that's kind of cool. And the other thing is YouTube. I've got my own playlist for Marty's stuff for GARQUEST Bowfishing in Central Texas. And that's on, if you just go youtube.com/DWarnke, WARNCKE, and I'll put that in the show notes. I'll actually put the playlist for all the GARQUEST videos in show notes, because good Lord, there's a bunch of them.
Right.
We've been doing videos for 7 years now, man. Can you believe that?
I've been slacking lately, though.
You got to give me more stuff to edit.
Yeah, absolutely.
So, no, that's fantastic. But thanks so much for joining us, Marty, and thanks so much for coming out to my house and recording this with us, man. It means a lot.
Thanks for having me.
Absolutely. And there he goes, ladies and gentlemen. There he goes. Bye, Marty. Thank you very much for joining us, Marty. I'm really excited about this bow fishing stuff. I know I write on the kind of weirder stuff of Texas fishing game. I know kind of the outside the box writer, as I said. But, you know, that's the cool thing about what I do, is that I love the things that are on the edge. I love the things that are not, you know, kind of in the margins, that are not mainstream hunting and fishing stuff all the time, because those things are cool, and I enjoy all those things. I do. I enjoy all the, you know, redfish and bass and you know, and catfish and all that stuff, and I do all that. Y'all seen me do all that over the years. But man, the bow fishing and stuff like that, and then crossbows and air guns and stuff like that I'm into is just so cool. I mean, there's just so much to enjoy about the outdoors, and there's really your choice to do whatever you want to with the information that we put out here. You know, but my whole goal is to inspire you and motivate you to go out and have the best of the outdoors in your life. And in what you do. So if you're not done so already, here comes my speech about the newsletters. Oh my gosh, here it comes. If you haven't done so already, please subscribe to our newsletters. Tactical Tuesday. Our list is over 58,000 people now that read the newsletter. Well, not all of them read the newsletter, but that's how big our list that gets the newsletter is. But I'm excited about the growth that we're having there. And Tactical Tuesday, Wildlife Wednesday, Thursday, Texas State of the Outdoor Nation. Lots of fun there, lots of new stories. I've had some gear review stories go up on my personal blog, warnkeoutdoors.com, or on fishgame.com. I've reviewed a cleaning mat. I reviewed an AR-15 cleaning mat that has an exploded diagram of the cleaning mat. It has tools with it as well. I reviewed a flashlight, the Odie Pro. I believe it's KL 52 Pro or 52 Plus, and fantastic flashlight. And then also a bipod from Twad, which is a company that does that manufactures things and sells them on Amazon for gun uses and hunting uses. Anyway, really cool stuff. 3 reviews of things like that on fishgame.com. Just go search for my name as a keyword. And anyway, I just love this stuff. Thank you guys so much for watching, reading, and listening. Have a good week out there, guys. It's hot, okay? Especially down here in Texas, if you're listening where we broadcast this thing from. It's smoking hot, man. And August is not going to be any better. The situation with the temperatures being where they are, I mean, we've had, like, when I'm recording this, it's been like 6 days of triple-digit temperatures, like, every day. So stay cool, stay hydrated, so important. All my fishing guides are really big about bringing extra water, especially if somebody forgets theirs on the boat. Definitely need extra water out in the field when you're hunting, especially if you're axis. Or we just had a guy at the hunting ranch I work with, DB Hunting Ranch here in Central Texas, come shoot a water buffalo, and as hard and tough as that thing was, it was a big bull. He said he almost needed an African caliber to take it down, so they're tough. But anyway, this is a great time, guys, to get out in the outdoors. And I'll say what Chester Moore said and what we said, I think, on 2 podcasts ago. If you don't like the outdoors, and you don't have to like hunting and fishing, but if you don't enjoy wildlife and just getting out there and camping and hiking and just seeing all of God's creations, man, you're weird, you know? If you don't like the outdoors, you're weird. So that's something that Chester says all the time, and I kind of take it and run with it because that's kind of the way I feel too, I guess. All that being said, man, you guys rock. I can't thank you guys enough for subscribing to the show, for giving us a 5-star rating, and there's not enough of you guys that are giving us a 5-star rating on iTunes, so please do that. That helps other people find the show, and then obviously through the magazine and my social media promotion and everything, more people find the podcast, and it's slowly growing. But I just want to get the word out there. To have you guys as listeners just makes my day, and I can't tell you how grateful I am for each and every single one of you guys that listen to this show, that take the time out of your busy day to listen to my entertainment, if you will, and education and motivation and inspiration. So anyway, thank you guys so much for watching, reading, and listening. Have an awesome day in the outdoors. We'll see you next time.